Welcome back to another reaction video. Today I'm going to continue the Australia theme, and I'm doing 11 things not to do in Australia, must see before you go. I'm not sure I'm planning on going. I mean, it's possible one day, but I mean, America's so big, I haven't even seen everything here. And honestly, there's some places in America I have no desire to go, like, for example, Oregon or California or New York. And there's some other places I just have no desire to go to for obvious reasons. Um, but I am still interested because I want to know more about stuff. So I'm gonna see 11 things not to do in Australia and see if it's common sense or if you're like WTF, right? So let's check this out.
Australia is many things. It's a continent that makes up the 6th largest country in the world and is home to some of the most dangerous creatures on the planet. And no, I'm not just talking about Australians.
Yeah.
With a little over 8.5 million people visiting each year, tourism is a huge part of Australia's economy. That being said, there are a number of things to look out for when you're there, so let's get right into it. Number 1. Don't stray from the path. With over 66 different venomous species, which is the 3rd largest concentration in the world, by the way, it's important to know where you are at all times. Now, this is especially
the 3rd largest concentration. What's the 1st and the 2nd? That's something to discover, right? I didn't know there was anything worse. So I might have to do some more research and react to something else, right? All right, so I mean, this is an obvious one. Don't stray from the path. If you don't know where you're at, I mean, if you're in America, don't stray from the path either. If you didn't do your research, because you'll end up in the ghetto. You'll end up in a war zone. If you don't know, obviously where you're going, just don't discover it until you speak to someone in the know, right? All right.
true if you plan on trekking or camping in the outback, with things like the common brown snake, box jellyfish, and crocodiles. There's no shortage of dangerous animals here, so it's important that you stay on the path when you're exploring. And that goes for warning signs as well, because while it may seem funny to some people from different countries, here they're very real and should be taken seriously.
Those things get swole, like, knuckle up, right? I seen a video of some dude fighting one, like a boxing match. I don't know if that was like made or if that was a real match.
Number 2, don't underestimate the cost. Australia is known for having one of the highest
That's
living
really
costs
anywhere
in the
you go.
world, and traveling there is no different. Now, of course, this is all subjective depending on where you go and where you're from.
There's
but
no
it's still surprising to hear that a beer costs around $9 Australian.
Hold on a second, guys.
And a meal
let me get these. I'm sorry, I need to turn these on because
range restaurant costs around 40. Now, all in all, if you're really trying to save money, you can get it down to around 100 Australian dollars per day. And I'll just throw that number out there as an average. But between transportation, food, and lodging, the prices can get a bit expensive. So it's important that you price out your trip accordingly. Number 3, and this is a short one. Don't say shrimp on the Barbie. Now, this phrase was popularized by a 1980s ad with Paul Hogan, who was later in Crocodile Dundee, and it was sponsored by the Australian Tourism Commission to try to bring in international travelers. But this is absolutely not what an Australian would say. If they would even use that phrase at all, they would say prawn, not shrimp. So don't make it more annoying than it already is.
Okay, first off, prawn and shrimp are 2 different things, okay? Let me tell you, the shrimp are saltwater, prawns are freshwater. So that's the difference. It's like a major difference. And of course, they can vary in size, like prawn versus shrimp as well. So it's not the same thing. I just want to let you know that in case that's not known in Australia. But that's basically what a prawn versus a shrimp is. It's freshwater versus saltwater. That's Sydney, right?
Number 4, drinking in Australia. Now for this one, I'm mainly talking about major cities, specifically Sydney, so don't quote me on the rest of the country. But in Sydney, you can't get a beer after 1:30 in the morning.
Why?
Because they have something called a lockout law, which means no one is allowed in or out of bars past that point.
There's
Their last call is at 3 in the morning.
something similar,
Of course,
like on
drink to
Sundays
try and
for
drive
church days in
because
certain
they have
like
one of the
states in
lowest
America,
alcohol content
where they're
levels,
very
0.05,
religious.
before you can be arrested. And last but not least, don't order Foster's beer. That's not an Australian thing. That's an American thing. Instead,
No, it's
try
not.
and order a
Trust
pub
me,
of Bundaberg.
it's not American.
My Aussie friends will know why I'm laughing.
Like I actually, when I drank
Don't underestimate its size.
beers,
Australia is a
Heineken.
country with about 25 million people, and because it's a continent, it's made up of almost 7.6 million square kilometers. And despite the fact that the majority of its population is clustered around the coasts, in urban areas, it still means that as a tourist, it's going to take a long time to get from place to place. So it's important to take a look at exactly how long it's going to take you to complete your itinerary.
Don't they tell everyone that about America when you come here? It's so big that people think they're going to go and see New York and then California, but they're like on completely separate sides of the map. It'll take you, a very long time to get there, unless you're flying, of course, and then, a couple hours or whatever. But in a vehicle, on a bus or a car, just if you plan on doing cross country stuff, plan a couple of days, because it's not as simple as that. Plus, you're gonna want to stop because you're gonna be very tired. You're gonna want to sleep, get some food, and then go on the road again just to get to your destination because it's far. So I imagine, if Australia is that big, I really don't know how big Australia is. I need to look at a comparison. But I thought Australia was like just as big as like, one of American states or something like that, like California or Texas or something. But I could be wrong.
Number 6, don't always tip. Now, unlike some countries, tipping isn't required in Australia, and that's mainly because their
It's
minimum
big out
wage
here in
is
America.
the highest in the world, at around $18.93 an hour. Now, in places like the US, waitstaff require tips to earn a living wage, because the national minimum wage is $7.25 an hour. Now, if you have great service, for sure you should tip the person. All I'm saying is you won't be scorned like in the US if you don't. Number 7. Don't rely on public transport. Now, because Australia is so big and so spread out, public
same in
transport
America.
is difficult to find outside major cities. It's not like Europe where you can take a train to a small town, hop off, and then hop onto another train to another small town. Australia is just too big for that to be feasible. So you're better off finding other ways to get around. Number 8. Don't talk about immigration. Now, forgive me if I have to generalize a bit in order to get the point across, but for the most part, many Australians dislike the way that the government handles immigration, whether they're anti-immigration or whether they're disgusted by the way the government handles refugees.
Hey, we're
Of
both.
course, there's all the people in between.
Wow.
The bottom line is that immigration.
I actually didn't expect this. I was glaring at the thing when he said immigration, don't talk about it, because, I was like, oh, great. It's going to be one of these guys that are like, all about, open borders and stuff. And I'm like, oh God. Because I mean, I know exactly where you guys are coming from. If this is like the general consensus, I mean, I know there's some loud minority that they're like, oh, we're the big guys out here. This is what we believe, but it's never that, is it? Because these are the people that are probably being paid to say that, or they're just too stupid to understand what effect it has on things. And that's why you have processes that are legal. And you should, enjoy like a legal immigration, because these are the people that are trying to do good to get into your country. It's common sense, right? And so they're going to know more. Like, for instance, to become an American, you have to know all about the Constitution. You have to know history and all this stuff. Americans, we can skate by to graduate junior high, you have to like do a thing on history, Constitution, a little test, but it's just a small test and you're done. But you guys have to be able to recite this stuff, so you're going to have a lot to go through to become an American, and Americans don't even do that. Um, and so it's a stringent process, and we know we're getting good people that want to contribute to society. But when people just come over and just get thrown in our lap, and they didn't go through the process, they just want to just suckle off American teat. All right, that's basically it. So I understand if this is what it is in Australia, and I wouldn't expect it because we were, conditioned out here to believe that Australians are all um, pro-immigration, anti-wall, and pro-socialism and all this other stuff. And um, it appears that I might have been misguided on that.
Immigration is a big deal in Australia, and it's easier to avoid the topic.
Yeah, you'll get American hot too. If you talk about that, we will.
Don't take anything personally. Now, Australians always seem to be joking around, and insults are one of the ways that they do that. But don't make the mistake of thinking they mean anything by it. There's a funny saying where you know that an Australian doesn't like you if they don't insult you, because it means that they actually think there's something wrong with you and that it'll offend you. Go figure. So take everything with a grain of
American
salt.
too. It's universal. I mean, I'll offend you. Don't worry. I will call you ugly.
10. Don't be afraid to say hello. Australians have a pretty well-deserved reputation for being laid back. And like I was talking about before with the kidding around, they're good at taking things in stride, which makes it easy as a tourist to make friends. And talking to people is a must. Last but not least, number 11. Make sure you enjoy Australia. Australia is such a cool place with so many fun.
What a weird thing to
interesting
say,
people.
right?
And there's so much to do.
I mean, that's anywhere you go to
keep
visit,
in mind,
right?
These are all general guidelines and
Like,
tips
I want to
that
go to
found
this
out
place
while I
and
was
just
there.
not enjoy my
And I'm
damn
sure
self.
you'll
I want to
have
be
a
angry and
fantastic
miserable.
time while you're there.
I'm not doing that. There's no reason. I mean, parachutes fail. I won't do that in America. All right? There's no reason to tempt fate. I mean, to be fair, I got no room to talk. I wanted to be a storm chaser when I was younger, chasing tornadoes and throwing shit in front of it. So yeah. Well, some of these things are just universal. And at least one wasn't expected. And I might have judged prematurely, of course. But same thing with the AFL. Check out the videos on that. Hot topic. You guys are religious about your football, all right? Anyway, if you enjoyed this, please hit the like button, drop a comment, let me know what you thought. And if you want to see more reactions or some gameplay, because I do both and I might be doing other stuff as well, make sure you subscribe and hit the bell notification. And I will see you on the next one. Peace.